not showing up yet, but it's actually recording us already. Welcome,
Hey,
everyone.
folks. Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to our live feed. This is my name is Dr. Kirk Fiznick, and I've got my friend Andrea on the phone with me. You know, Andrea, today I was thinking about, we've talked a lot about um, things that we can do to slow the aging process
Yeah.
and improve our health span and things like that. And I thought, why not relate it back to aging, diseases of aging?
Oh, what we're going to prevent by doing all those great things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we can't say prevent, can we?
Okay. Hinder.
We have to be careful on how we say it, how we present it to people.
Yes, I see they are again attacking the supplement industry here in the United States.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about vitamins and minerals that come from food.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes from food. We're not altering it.
Right.
We're just extracting it from the food and we're
Mm-hmm.
concentrating it and we're putting it into a pill or a powder or
Right.
a drink.
Our liquid. Yep.
Yeah. And, so we have to be really careful on that. We have to be really careful on that because you don't want to get in trouble.
That's right.
The other day, we talk about fucoidin a lot.
Yeah. Fucoidin.
It's one of our best-selling products with Sizzle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
For a
and
reason.
yeah, so our product is called fucoidin,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a healthy drink, a
Yes.
nutritional drink, elixir, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
But it's a formulation. We've added strawberries and apple juice and cherry juice, and we've added some black pepper and some Szechuan pepper and fucoidin.
Yes.
Because fucoidin alone, it doesn't taste very good, does it?
I don't know. I've never had it alone.
Well, actually, you have.
I have.
Yeah. Well, that powder that I sent you, that's what's in that. That's primarily fucoidin powder.
Ah,
So it doesn't taste all that good, does it?
I didn't taste it.
Oh,
I
well, it doesn't.
encapsulated it.
Trust me, it doesn't taste that good. So,
It smells like cow poop.
yeah, but so Tom realized that, and when they made it into the fucoidin drink that we have, the
Mm-hmm.
Sizzle nutritional drink, one of the things that they did, that the Mowers did, is they made it so it was palatable, made it so it tastes good.
Oh yeah,
And,
it's delicious.
I mean, I could go to my fridge right now and pour out a bottle and pour myself an 8-ounce drink in the morning, but you don't
Oh
need
yeah,
to,
right.
because you're getting too much. You don't need it. But so okay, where was I going? Um, 2 weeks ago, I found an article that said that the extract from brown seaweed, which is called what?
Fukusayan or something like that.
Fucoidin. It's called fucoidin.
Oh, fucoidin. You're not talking about the other one.
Yeah, or lima mui or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
it's an extract from brown seaweed. It's got a different spelling, right? We've spelled it different for our
Mm-hmm.
product name.
Yeah. Fucoydan versus Fucoidan.
Right? Different spelling, whatever. But so fucoidin, with the COIDAN,
Mm-hmm.
that product, or that's an extract from brown seaweed.
Right.
And I took and I found an article that said, I might have sent it to you, but it said that fucoidin, the brown seaweed extract,
Mm-hmm.
is great if you have cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a scientific article, and they went on to say that if you're taking chemo, it actually helps. It works along with the chemo,
Oh, okay.
right? And it was an article on fucoidan, the brown seaweed extract,
Mm-hmm.
not fucoidan, the product that Sizzle makes.
Right.
Anyhow, so I put a couple articles. I put them up on Facebook because I thought, hey, this is important. People should know that. And I didn't list the name of the company. I didn't list the name of our product. I just said, here's an
Right.
interesting article.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that was my post.
It's a good one.
And I got turned in for that.
Yep.
Somebody wanted me to be investigated because I put an article about fucoidan, the brown seaweed extract.
Our voices are being hindered all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And I just thought, well, that's interesting, so when Milo actually got a hold of me and he said, hey, Kurt, what did you post on Facebook?
How did he know?
Well, because that's how I found out, because it went to the company and then it came back to me.
Wow, they're really tracking you now.
Right. And I'm like, I didn't put anything about the company. I didn't put anything about the product. I just said, here's an interesting article.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing about the company, nothing about our product or anything like that. And, and I just thought, when Milo got a hold of me, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I said to him, so we can't post scientific articles anymore?
Right? By law, we can.
Yeah, but it has to be separate. The law says that if you post an article, a scientific article, you can't list your product in the same
Which you didn't do.
post, which I didn't do. Right, but
But you're on their hit list.
whoever turned me in for that didn't realize that. They just thought, And so the reason I bring it up is, again, we just got to be careful when we say this or when we say that. So today, we're not going to talk about products.
Okay. Well, it's time to take it off from the famous platform and move to a different one.
Yeah, we just have to be careful. I mean, and I think it's no matter what platform you use. It's basically, the law says, it's not a Facebook law. It's a law that says that you can't put an article, a scientific article, on the same on a marketing platform. So if I'm saying, hey, this is on brown seaweed, hey, this is on my product, they have to be two separate. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but they're hindering us from knowing any information.
Yeah, but that's not Facebook. That's the government.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, Facebook just enforces it, but what I'm saying is that was in place long before Facebook was, before social media.
Right, but what you did was not against what that placement was. So
right. But we have watchdogs now. We have watchdogs now who are looking to, I don't know. But so I my point again being that we just got to be careful. So today, I want to talk about aging, because when we look at it, the science says that scientists have said, if we could slow down the diseases of aging, we could dramatically make a change in the healthcare of not just the United States, but of the world.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the scientists have said. And that makes sense. So in a way, what they basically said was, if we treat aging like a disease, if aging is the disease and we go after aging, we'll slow those diseases down.
Yeah, because they're all a byproduct of the degeneration.
Yeah. So I was having a discussion with a gentleman down in Florida, a 60-year-old gentleman down in Florida this morning. Um, and actually, your friend Rose had me call him, and he's got some challenges, some health challenges. You know, he turned 60 years old, and he said all of a sudden he's noticing this and this and this and this and this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, you know, there's metabolic changes in your body as you age. And one of
Right.
them that we've talked a lot about over the last, oh, how many years has it been since we came out with the NAD product that we have? Again, I won't list the product because we're, you know,
4 years, the
talking
end of
about
July.
diseases here.
4 years, the end of July.
How many?
4 years, the end of July.
4 years. Is that all? It seems like it's been out forever, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
That
For
seems
me, it
like a long
does.
time to me.
It feels like I've been on it a long time, all my life. Yeah. But but you know, so when you're younger, your body produces a lot of NAD, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we've been taught for the last 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
When you
Yep.
get to be 40, your production of NAD goes down dramatically. When you get to
Right.
be 60, it goes down even more. When you get to be 70, 80, it goes down a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go look up the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, but I'm not going to go look up the numbers. But wasn't it like when you turn 80, your production of NAD is like, you know, like 80% decrease compared to when you were 20?
Yeah, I don't remember the stats either. But some people on here who are listening might not know what NAD is.
And what is it?
Well, it's a substance that your cells create from substances from food or supplements that you intake. And it creates more energy in the mitochondria of the body. So your little energy factories in your cells have more energy.
Right. So it's a form of energy that your cells use to
Mm-hmm.
rebuild, replace, repair, and go through life.
Right. Which ultimately, if you have a high level of that, then it would keep you younger. Right.
That's right. And so it's related to hydrogen production. And
Right.
so what the scientists have shown, when you read some of the science articles, they talk a lot about, when they're talking about NAD plus, they talk about hydrogen in ATP and the Krebs cycle. If you remember that from your high school biology and your college biology, the Krebs cycle, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
tricyclic acid cycle. And they talk about all those different things, right? And so it wasn't that many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, like Andrea's saying, when they were really putting a lot of information about this on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of us two type products that popped up, and everybody was trying to come up with the best product. And they found that it was related to niacin,
Right.
you know, and they found that different forms of niacinamide, nicotinaminic acid, um, and um, you know, the ribose molecule,
Mm-hmm.
and they put those together, and they came up with a way of basically getting your body to produce more NAD by giving you the building blocks to do that.
Right.
And so that's what our company came up with too, was a product that did that. And again, I won't list the name of the product or the company, but I won't say it. But I remember reading on that, doing a lot of reading on it. You and I talked a lot about the science
Mm-hmm.
behind it. And one of the Harvard studies said that when you take this, they found that it significantly reduced radiculopathy,
What is radiculopathy?
right, and neuropathy. Um,
Oh,
like,
neuropathy, I know what that is. I don't know what the other one is.
oh, okay. Same, dealing with the nerve, but neuropathy, right?
Oh,
So
mhm.
diabetic neuropathy. They found that when you took this vitamin B3 niacin uh, extract or formulation, they could reverse um, diabetic neuropathy.
Well, I can't say it, but I know.
Yeah, and they found that it reduced neuropathy triggered by chemo, by certain forms of chemo. And
Mhm.
so that was a Harvard study, and Harvard came out with a lot of studies, and that's because David Sinclair. Um,
You can't say that.
oh, scratch that, right? I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna hit reverse on my recorder here, but
Anyway,
so
a
this
well-known scientist.
a well-known scientist who gets paid by Harvard, received Nobel prizes and things like that. But he a lot of science came out of there, and they also said that it helps with autoimmune disorders. Autoimmune disorders.
I mean, I think it's I don't know what it is. I'm signed up for emails from, I think it's nad.com or something, and they send you research articles all the time. It's amazing.
Okay.
It helps with tons of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can say that because we're not talking about our product. We're just talking
Right.
about the extract. And so the science on it shows that it can reverse some of these things. And so, when I was talking to this gentleman this morning, he's telling me he's
Mhm.
got this and this and this and this and this, and he's listing all this stuff. And I said, well, it sounds like, you might need to boost those NAD levels based on the Harvard studies.
Right.
And so I thought that was interesting, and so what they found is that NAD fuels resveratrol. And again, I'm not going to talk about our resveratrol product, but resveratrol works with it powers the sirtuin genes, right?
Yeah, it's something you could take for eternity and you'd never get enough.
Right? Yeah, you wouldn't want to take it for eternity, but you might. But so resveratrol they found helps helps to work with the sirtuin genes, and sirtuin genes are necessary for DNA repair.
And
And
who doesn't need some of that?
right, and DNA repair. And so we look at that and we go, okay, so what does that have to do with aging? Well, as you get older, your body isn't quite as good at repairing this DNA because you don't have enough NAD.
Right.
You know, put that science together, and so all of a sudden now you have the cells that aren't repairing themselves, and you start to see some of the diseases of aging. You get and I'm gonna move forward just a little bit, but you also have this thing called senescence.
Oh yeah, we learned about that a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Last year, yeah, it was just a year ago. And
Mhm.
so senescence is when those cells, they used to think it was like, well, the cells just go to sleep, they're dormant.
Yeah, we thought they just like checked out.
Yeah. So they came out with this they call it SASP, SASP, you know, senescent associated um uh secretary phenotype.
Mm.
So secretions from these senescent cells, from these dormant sleeping cells, damage other cells.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about that, it's like having a bad apple in a basket of apples, and it
That's right.
just, or a potato, and it just spreads.
Yeah. So we have a rotten apple touching against a healthy apple,
Mhm.
and pretty soon the healthy apple is a rotten apple because
Yep.
that happens to people too. But it happens in cells at the cellular level. And so they found that there's a lot of diseases. So, so when we're talking about that, then we have to talk about telomeres. And
Right?
telomeres are the little fuses. They're like the
Caplets
it
on
well,
shoestring.
yeah, it's like it's like, like when God invented us, he said, okay, here's how long your telomere is, and when it gets down to here, yeah, you are no more.
Right.
And
That cell is. Yeah.
each day that telomere gets a little shorter,
Mhm.
shorter, until it gets down to where the cells can't protect themselves anymore, and that's when these cells go into senescence. Your immune system puts them
Right.
into senescence, and then these senescent cells emit this pay it forward bad stuff and
Yeah. And
damage
the
other cells.
amazing thing to me, the amazing research that was showing by age 40, half your stem cells are in senescence. That's
Half,
huge. That's huge.
yeah,
Half of your stem cells, the cells that repair your body, all your body parts, are now giving off toxins and trying to destroy cells around them. I
yeah.
mean, that's crazy.
So all of these things kind of put together, then when we're talking about this, you're going, okay, so you have telomeres, you have senescent cells, you have NAD, you have the sirtuin genes, all these different things, and everything kind of is twisted together, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're all related, interrelated.
Yep. And so they say, like type 2 diabetes
Mm-hmm.
is triggered by senescent cells in the pancreas,
Ah.
right? And that triggers that. They're saying that even gray hair, when your hair turns gray,
Mm-hmm.
it's because of senescent cells.
Senescence. Yeah.
Yeah. Kidney disease, they've related that to senescent cells. Alzheimer's and dementia, certain cancers, and
Mm-hmm.
again, we're not talking about any products, people, so don't turn me in for saying that. But yeah, but heart disease, and they've listed like just a ton of diseases that are related to senescent cells.
And I'm sure anybody could find that out there on the internet too if they wanted to look for it.
Yeah. So they're saying then that if we can reverse these things,
Mm-hmm.
we can slow down the aging process
Because
and
you're slowing down
thereby
the degeneration. Yep.
slow down the degeneration and slow down the onset of these diseases.
Right.
Makes perfect sense to me.
That's me.
Perfect sense to me. And so that's the whole thing, is that so these diseases of aging, then that's what we really have to look at. And we have to look at, okay, so let's treat aging as the common denominator. Aging is the disease. But we don't want aging to be listed as a disease, do we?
Ooh.
Because then
We couldn't talk about aging.
we couldn't talk about that either. Right? But they did slip some things into the latest edition of the International Classification of Disease, the ICD-9, the latest edition. There is a aging modifier. So it could say, Kurt has dementia because of aging,
Mm.
right? So it can be part of your diagnosis now. So when people say, well, aging isn't a disease, well, kind of, sort of. It's a modifier.
Let's keep it not a disease.
Yeah. I think eventually it'll be put in there because, they really want to kind of tighten up the clamps a little.
Yeah. So do we want to tighten up their clamps a little?
Right. But yeah, so I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking about this morning. It's a great topic to talk about because it's happening to all of us. I don't care if you're 3 years old or
Right?
99 years old. You're
Yep.
aging. I mean, boom, you just got older just sitting here listening to this conference call. If you're
And we
listening,
got
by the
older
way,
doing it.
if you're listening, by the way, down in the bottom here, comment. You know, how do you like to know that you just got older? You just got a half hour older
Here we go.
listening to us. You get half an hour older just listening to us tell us that you got older. Comment down here.
Well, isn't it that, I mean, the amazing part is that we use up half our stem cells just going from gestation to birth, don't we? Like just
Yeah,
the whole building of the human body.
between a third to half. Yeah.
And then you have all the rest of them to try and keep them for 100 years.
Yep. But then when you get down to the last third, the last 30%, then your body decides you don't have enough. You know, and that's when the aging diseases come on. When you get down to
So
that
we're trying to
last third.
prevent. Well, I can't say prevent. That's what we're trying to help you with.
Yeah. You have to, choose your words carefully, right?
Right.
So if you have somebody, I'm going to use George Burns, for example,
Okay.
right? You and I, we're old enough to remember George Burns. Some of you may remember
Mhm.
George Burns. And, you know, George Burns wasn't a perfect example of a healthy lifestyle, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Sipping on his martini.
A martini in one hand and a cigar in the mouth.
Right? I mean, I don't know if I ever saw him actually light that cigar, but he's always had one. And
mouth fetish, I guess.
So he's not the perfect example of a healthy lifestyle. Yet the guy lived to be 103 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had a lot of healthy long telomeres. Right? If we could exhume his body and we could look, we'd probably find that he had a lot of long, healthy telomeres, right? And he could do a lot of
Probably
bad.
grew him along when he was young and food was full of nutrients.
Well, and I think that it's a genetic thing too. You can be born that way, you know, because we know some people who do everything right and they die at the age of 45,
Right.
right? Because they have short telomere. But you know, so you don't know where you are. Typically, most people don't know. Now you can order some lab tests. I've had mine tested, and you can find out where you're at. And you can find out where you're at, like right now, too. And then, like Andrea just said, you can do some things diet-wise,
Mm-hmm.
supplement-wise, that will lengthen telomeres. Did you know that they're trying to develop a drug right now that will lengthen telomeres?
Oh, goody, another drug.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not surprised that they're trying to develop a drug that does that. You know, I mean, they're trying to. Well, they've got it. They've got a. You and I've talked about. They've got a drug, fish oil.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, it sells for about $300 a month for a month's supply, and it's missing some things. I think it's good, but it's bad too. It's good because it gives you a concentrated dose of the EPA, which is your omega-3, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have any of the DHA. And I think if somebody's spending $300 a month buying the EPA, chances are they're not going to run out and buy some extra fish oil for the DHA. So
Right.
that would be my major complaint on it. But they are getting the EPA, they are getting the omega-3s, which is good, because you know, as we talk about the aging process, we have talked about the fact that in America right now, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is way off. Way
Right.
off. I mean, I've read in some articles they say that the standard American diet is a ratio of 24 to 1. 24 omega-6s for every one omega-3. And ideally, it should be close to 1 to 1. I mean, the scientists, the researchers have told us that you should shoot for 4 to 1.
Right. I just sent you that article a couple days ago and it backed all that up.
Yep. So the omega-6, you need some, right? Even though it causes inflammation, because some people say, well, why don't we just get rid of the omega-6 altogether? Well, you need some, Because if I go
Mhm.
outside today and I slip and fall, my body needs to produce some inflammation. And if I have allergies, I need to produce some, arachidonic acid. I need that, I mean, these different things. So you do need the omega-6, but we get too much. So we go through life. Most people go through life with a ratio, and you can get this tested too. Did you know you can get it tested, Andrea? They can take your blood and they can see what's your omega-3, omega-6 ratio.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you can see where you're at, and then if you need to adjust your diet or whatever. But so you want to, and again, we're talking about aging. For those of you that have just joined us, we're talking about aging, and we're talking about why omega-6 and omega-3s oils are important, because as you cause that chronic inflammation, it triggers a number of disease processes to start. It triggers the cells to do different things, and it can actually cause damage to the cells beyond repair, or to where the DNA is damaged, and then that gets back into the talk that we're talking about with the with the resveratrol, the sirtuin genes, and and that, and inflammation can cause the telomeres to shorten quicker. So here's your telomere, shortens it quicker, right? So if you're 40, you don't want to have your telomeres shortening any quicker. If you're 20, Andrea, do you want your telomeres to shorten quickly?
No.
Yeah. But when you're young, a lot of people, they can't wait to get older so they can, have more freedom and do these different things. But then when you get to be older, then you're like, oh man, I wish I could go back and slow that down.
Right? That's going to be
Yeah.
great.
So, here I am. I turned 59 a month ago, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to do a lot of things before I turn 60. I want to get back to a good, healthy weight. I've lost almost 50 pounds already, and
Yay! That's awesome.
I can feel it. I can feel it. And I want, and I'm going to keep going. But at the same time, I'm doing other things too. I'm trying to, get my omega-3, omega-6 ratio close to normal.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get rid of any arthritic pain that I have. I mean, at 59, I've been in a motorcycle accident. I've been in a couple car accidents. I played high school football. I did these different things, and I caused injuries to my body.
Right.
So I'm trying to reverse some of that as well. Because Andrea, I don't want to get old,
I don't either.
right? I mean, that bottom line is that I don't want to get old, and
Right.
and you know, when we're talking about aging, and we're talking about like they call them super centurions, right? The people who live to be 99 and 100 and 102
Mhm.
and 100, like George Burns, 110, 115, things like that. When they're talking about the people that live to be that age, super centurions, they call them. What's the common denominator amongst all those people?
I have no idea.
They didn't want to get old. They didn't want to die. They wanted to
Ah,
live to be old. That's the most
more a
common thing.
mental it's a mental thing too.
Well, it is, right? Because as you think about, like I just said, I don't want to get old.
I had a great aunt. Well, I guess she was my aunt. She was my grandmother's sister who lived to be 100 when they threw her a 100-year birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'm not that old. She was like flabbergasted, like going, I'm not that old. And they were like, yeah, you are. When she died 2 months later, I think she just kind of went, oh gosh, 100 years, time to
Yeah,
go.
time to go. Yeah, but and that has a lot to do with it, right? Because if I'm focused on that, I want to live to be 100 years old. If I want to be part of that gang that's the super centurions, I want to say, someday I want to say, hey, yeah, I remember 110 years ago. This is what I was doing, right? I'm going to make better choices. I'm going to maybe eat better. I'm going to take supplements, because we know that you don't get all your nutrition from food. I was reading an article this morning
Oh,
in
right.
one of my chiropractic journals This gal who is a chiropractor and a registered dietitian, she said, well, she doesn't recommend supplements.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
And I thought, well, what do you recommend then? And she,
Right.
and I read her articles, like a
Well, I can
3-page
tell
article.
you, because I see it on social media all the time. If you just eat healthy and exercise, you'll get everything you need.
If you eat healthy and exercise,
Well, try to eat
right?
healthy in today's world.
72% of Americans are overweight, with over half of them being obese, right?
Right.
I'm part of the 72%. If you're part of that 72%, did you eat unhealthy and get overweight, or were you unhealthy and it caused you to be overweight? We've talked about this before. Which one came first?
It goes both ways.
The chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
And so she went on to say, she said, well, if you just eat healthy.
They all say that.
Okay. Well, I want you to tell me how you can eat healthy. I mean, you can't go
Right.
to the grocery store and get nutritious food that has everything in it, because of the fact that if I go to the grocery store here in Fargo, I mean, we just got through winter. It's supposed to snow again in 2 days, Andrea.
Oh, be quiet, Kurt.
There. I just saw it on the news on the weather last night. It's supposed to snow.
Well, I hope we have a tropical warm thing coming up from Texas again.
Yeah, my son is up from New Orleans, and I don't think he saw that on the news last night, but he hates cold. Now that he's lived in Western Africa, and he lived in New Orleans, and he lived in Hawaii. Yeah, he doesn't take cold very much. Him and my older boy went out in the canoe last night, and my older boy had him wear a wetsuit. It was 80 degrees yesterday, and he's out there wearing a wetsuit, sitting in a canoe. Yeah, but
yeah, something happens. Your blood gets thinner or something when you live in the South for a while.
Right. And I don't like cold either. I mean, I've learned to put up with it. I've learned to dress for it. I've put a new furnace in my house and things like that because I don't like it either. But, where was I going? So why was I talking about
Nutrition.
sunshine, things like that?
Yeah.
So this registered dietitian said that you can get all your vitamins and minerals from eating food. Well, you could. I'm not going to disagree with her, because I'd be lying. You can get your nutrition from your
3
food.
bushels of broccoli.
Or you make sure that you get the right broccoli that is totally nutritious. But here in North Dakota, like all winter long, we have fresh fruits and vegetables at the grocery store. But is it really fresh, Andrea?
No, you said it isn't.
It's not. When you go to the grocery store in Michigan in March, is that lettuce fresh? Did somebody just pick it?
No.
No. Chances are it was picked when it was slightly on the green side, slightly on the raw side, slightly, not quite there. And then what they did is they stored it in, super cool chambers, nitrogen chambers and things like that, to make sure that it doesn't spoil. And they haul it up to Michigan, and they have a big warehouse somewhere around Detroit, somewhere around your area. And then the trucks come out and bring that stuff out. They thaw it out, and it ripens in the store. It doesn't ripen on the vine.
Right.
And so it doesn't have all the nutrition in it. So there's one of the reasons that we don't get food that's totally nutritious. So this, I'm going to disagree with this registered dietitian, and by saying that, well, you could get your nutrition from your food, but highly unlikely that you do get your nutrition from food. So going back to another Harvard study, Harvard had an article a number of years ago where they tested people. They actually tested people to find out how healthy are they based on blood profiles. And they were looking to see, does Andrea have enough vitamin D in her body? Does, Kurt have enough vitamin C and things like that? And they looked at vitamins and minerals and all that. And they found that 97% of people fell in the category of having vitamin and mineral deficiencies. 97%.
I just had my blood work done and I fell into the normal category on everything except I think one thing. And my vitamin D was within their range, but I know that I'm supposed to have more in my system to fight off something women get.
Yeah. So,
I'll just say
you know,
that.
yeah. So in her article, speaking of vitamin D, I'm just going to play off what you just said. Speaking of vitamin D, in her article, she said she has one exception. One exception, vitamin D.
Yeah.
That's her one exception. She said she tells everyone they should take a vitamin D. Nothing else. You can get everything else from your food, but you can't get the vitamin D. That's interesting. So I had to read her reasoning for that. But you know, I would tend to follow Harvard studies more than I would tend to follow her opinions, this registered dietitian, because Harvard said 97% of people are missing key nutrients
Right.
and vitamins in their diet. 97%. So if I was a gambling person, I'm not a gambling person, Andrea. I don't like to lose money. And so if I was a gambler, I'd gamble that I'm part of the 97%. I mean, if you said, "Hey, Kurt, I'll bet you $20," you're either part of the three. You'd bet $20 that I'm part of the 3%. I'd take that bet. I would say, no, I'm part of the 97%. Even though I'm smarter than the average bear and I pay attention to my vitamins and nutrients, I would still say I'm part of I would bet you I'm part of the 97%.
Well, if 97, that 97, 99 percentage gets rolled around out there a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, 97%. So we have to all figure that, okay, so you've got these registered dietitians telling people, oh, just eat right.
Right.
You know, and then you have
Oh,
Harvard
and
saying,
like every health coach that, shows their face on Facebook and everything else, I mean, I go into things that are advertisements for other supplements, and if you read through the comments, every 10 comments, it will be, well, if you just eat right and exercise, you'll be fine.
yeah.
I mean, there's a whole lot of that out there.
Yeah. And I would like to agree with that. And I would like to tell people, yeah, just eat right. And
Yeah, it'd be great.
exercise and get sunshine and all those different things. But we live up here in the north and really, we don't get sunshine most of the year. I mean, well, we get sunshine, but we don't sit outside. We aren't active outside. And then you take somebody who's overweight, they're less likely to get enough sunshine, right? Because when you say sunshine, you're supposed to get 20 minutes of whole body exposure, equal to 20 minutes of whole body exposure. That's the amount of sunlight that you're supposed to get. 20 minutes of whole body exposure. I'm telling you, Andrea, if you're overweight, you're not out there sitting in a swimsuit.
No. Nope.
Right? So it takes longer. 20 minutes now turns into an hour. It turns into 2 hours. It turns into 3 hours. In the wintertime, I mean, how many hours would that be if this is all that's showing? Or maybe you're wearing gloves. So you got this much of your body showing, your cheeks and your nose. It's going to take a long time to get 20 minutes whole body exposure when the only thing showing is your nose.
Well, and then I think we talked about this winter, anything above the 35th parallel, you're not really getting the correct rays to develop vitamin D anyway.
Yep. And so we got to look at all those things. But, bottom line is that, and put your comments down here in the comments section,
Right.
would you, if I bet you $20, would you take my bet? Would you, if I said, hey, I bet you $20, you're part of the 3%, would you take that bet? Comment down below. If you're listening to this recording, comment as well. Ask people that. Ask people that. It's a great way to get into the conversation of, okay, so now we're talking about the diseases of aging. Well, Andrea, if you're not getting your vitamins and nutrients, hello,
You're degenerating.
right? I mean, because what happens is that the healing process. Let's just talk about the healing
Mhm.
process, right? So you're going through the healing process. You're healing. Oh, missing the nutrient to go beyond this step. What happens to your
Yep.
body,
Yep.
right? It hits a plateau. It doesn't finish the healing process. This is a graph, by the way. I'm making a graph. Does that look like a graph? Do you know that's a graph?
Mhm.
You've hung around
Yes.
me enough. You know that's a graph,
Yes.
right? So you go through this healing process. It hits the plateau because all of a sudden you're missing the nutrient that you need for the next metabolic process, the next step in that healing process. So that's why vitamins and minerals are essential to healing. And if you can't heal, then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, now all of a sudden you start talking about all those other things that we talked about, senescence
Mhm.
and shortened telomeres and DNA damage and all of these other things, right?
Right.
So comment below, people, thumbs up, things like that. Smiley face, heart.
Right.
Yeah,
Tell us if you're watching live today or if it's a replay when you see this.
yeah. I mean, you might think it's live, but it's not.
It's live if they're on here right now.
Remember that commercial? This will age us. Remember that commercial? Is it live or is it Memorex?
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That was the 80s, Kurt. How old were you?
I think it was the 70s. Wasn't that the 70s?
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But bottom line is that so we're talking about how do you slow down these aging processes? Well, you can't listen to this registered dietitian and just eat right because
Right.
97% of us fall in a category where we're nutrient deficient. And um, if you're low on serotonin, for example, we'll use serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter. 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan, is one of the building blocks to making serotonin, 5-hydroxytryptophan. One of my friends is a scientist, and he's a medical doctor based out of Florida. He does research on amino acids, and he does research on neurotransmitters. And he said in his studies, he found that if you're low on the building block 5-hydroxytryptophan, which is necessary to make serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, it's one of the primary neurotransmitters in your body, he said you have to eat the equivalent of 18 eggs a day
Wow.
to build that back up. 8 steaks. You'd have to eat 8 steaks a day to get enough tryptophan to build your serotonin level back up. So if you're in a deficiency mode, you can't just eat the RDA, the
Right.
recommended daily allowance. You can't just have a McDonald's Big Mac and fries with ketchup on it and think that you're getting all your vitamins and minerals. Even though it's fortified with vitamin D and vitamin E and vitamin C, and that ketchup is loaded with vitamin C, isn't it? That ketchup. That's why it's considered a vegetable.
It's loaded with sugar.
But I'm being sarcastic, and because that's what people get. That's what they eat, and they think they're eating healthy. I mean,
Mhm.
and with COVID, you know, all of a sudden now, I think people are eating worse than they did pre-COVID, BC,
Right.
right? BC.
Because, well, our mental health goes into a lot of that too.
Yeah. So I mean, so if we're just talking about serotonin, we're talking about tryptophan being the amino acid, the building block to building serotonin, and Dr. Marty Hinz out of Florida, he discovered, Dr. Stein, they discovered that it takes eating the equivalent of 18 eggs a day, 8 steaks a day to get enough tryptophan to build the levels of serotonin back up to where to normal. What about all the other things?
Right. Truckloads of food. That's what
You
you
know,
need, truckloads.
yeah, if you're deficient on vitamin D,
Mm-hmm.
right? How much vitamin D does it take to get the levels back up to normal? If you're deficient on vitamin C, how many lemons do you have to have, and how long do you have to do that to get those levels back up to normal? Some things, of course, your body's going to absorb really quickly, and you're going to build those levels up really fast. Other things, it's going to be slow, you know. And so I can't tell you. I mean, Andrea, don't have people call me and say, how many lemons do I have to eat?
I wouldn't do that.
Right? Well, some people do that. Hey, Kurt, how many eggs did I have to eat? I'm like,
18. Try that.
right? But people will call me up and they'll ask me, they'll be like, okay, so I want to get healthy. I don't want to take any supplements. I just want to eat right. What do I need to do?
Take your supplements.
And I'm like,
And
I mean,
why? Because they're highly concentrated. They're extractions that are highly concentrated.
yeah. So number one, they're extracts, right? So we take,
Mhm.
we take all the stuff out that is in there, and it's good too. I mean, but we're concentrating, and then we super concentrate it so that we get those levels up as quick as possible.
Well, I guess you could do a research on how much food you have to eat to get 10,000 units of international units of vitamin D.
Yep. Like my son and I was down in New Orleans this last weekend. He graduated from medical school, and he was telling me, he said, well, Dad, he said, you're high risk, because he said I'm overweight. I said, yep, I can't disagree with that. And for
He likes to keep
COVID,
bringing that up, doesn't he?
oh, he likes to give me a hard time about it. But he said he and I said, I'm working on that, and I'm going to have my weight under control, by the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on it. I'm honestly working on it. I mean, could I go faster? I'm probably, but I'm working on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before I turn 60, I'll have my weight under control. He said, well, but you're high risk for other reasons. He said, you were a smoker. I said, yeah, but that was 30,
Your body's all
31,
returning that.
31 years ago. And
Yeah.
and he said, no, he said, it doesn't say, how long ago did you quit? It just said you're high risk if you were a smoker. And I mean, sure, okay, I agree.
I don't, because I've seen information based on other things that your body does repair itself within that time frame.
To a certain
But
degree,
that's
right?
okay.
That's
He's
to
a
a certain
doctor,
degree.
I'm not.
Well, and so I have to agree with that. And I go, okay, yeah, but I'm doing other things, I mean, I'm taking high dose resveratrol, high potency high dose resveratrol. I'm using fucoidan. I'm using astragalus extracts, not just astragalus root, right? Because then all of a sudden you get these companies that say, oh yeah, we got that too, and they say we use the whole root. Well, and we've talked about this before. If you take astragalus and you take 12,000 pounds, so you take the size of an elephant, how many actives are actually in that elephant-sized room?
It's the size of a loaf of bread.
About the size of a loaf of bread, right? I've given you some visuals that you can see.
Mhm.
And so you don't need very much. I mean, you only need 10 milligrams, right? And for folks who want to know how much is 10 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams is a quarter teaspoon. That's
That's
1,000 milligrams. I don't need 1,000 of
not
them.
very much.
I don't need 1,000 of them, Andrea. I need 10.
Yeah, how about that?
And they're showing that will help rebuild the telomeres, and it actually helps to rebuild them. It doesn't just slow the aging process. The Nobel Prize was given in 2009 because they
Mhm.
found, the scientists, Dr. Blackburn and these other scientists, they found that they could actually rebuild the telomeres. And they're using an extract that we're talking about that you don't need very much. One product, it sells for $500 a month. They use less than 5 milligrams a day, in their product. And they're trying to come up with a drug that will work like this astragalin, cycloastragalin. And then you know, and I was reading one book. A friend of mine wrote a book on telomeres. Actually, I was reading another book too just recently. Suzanne Summers, who's an advocate for age reversal, and she said
Mhm.
she in one of her chapters where she's talking about telomeres, she said, oh, you know, she said I'd love to tell you about telomeres, but she said most of you can't afford the products that you need to reverse the length of the telomeres. She said so. She said I'm just going to tell you to take some fish oil.
Oh my God.
She actually says that in her book, and I thought, well, that's an interesting comment. She's X-raying your pocketbook and deciding that, hey, yeah, but you know that
Or she
probably is a
doesn't know the right resources.
what resource is that?
I don't know.
What resource is that?
I don't know. Science, innovation.
But so yeah, but she said that in her book. Suzanne Summers says that in her book. But you know, they talk about this and they make it sound like it's super expensive. And then these NAD supplements and some of them are like sky high up there. And they try and make the elite of the world feel like they're you know doing something exclusive by charging them more and oh, you peasants, you peons, you can't afford what I'm doing. I'm an actor, for gosh sakes,
Kind of a snobby thing to say, isn't it?
right? I'm an actor, for gosh sakes. I can take these things. You can't.
You know what, Kurt? We're like at 1 o'clock
What?
Eastern. Yeah,
Oh, shoot, we talked for an hour. I was just thinking, oh man, I was thinking that we've talked for about 25 minutes.
you're right. No, you're telling us all kinds of good stuff today.
Yeah, I got a little bit animated in my talk today. Hey, folks, thanks for being with us. You know, leave a comment below. Share this with people. It'll be on YouTube. If you go to YouTube .com/C/Sizzle World Team, SISEL World Team.com, and subscribe. There's a little button down in this corner. If you're watching this video, down in this corner, there's a little red button. It says subscribe. Hit that. Put in your email address, and then every time we come up with a new video like this, you'll be notified. It'll say,
Tuesday.
you
Yeah.
know, it'll say, hey, they came up with a great new video. And guess what? This weekend on Friday night, I've got a scientist jumping on a call with me, and we're going to be talking about this anti-aging a little bit more. His dad was one of the members, was on the board of the World Congress of Stem Cells.
Yes.
And I remember the conversation that Tom Senior had with one of the iconic figures in the anti-aging world.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, it'll be a long time before we come up with a product that can help with the senescence. And then all of a sudden, I started reading more and more and more about it. And you know, and Mayo Clinic is working on something. They're using chemo, of course, dastatinib. They think that that's the answer to anti-aging is, you know, using chemo. But
Kill them all. Kill those cells.
but this Friday, so that it'll be a recording. It'll also be on this channel. Subscribe right here if you're watching this video. Andrea, I'm going to let you close out the call. Folks, thanks for being with us today. Andrea will close out the call for us.
Yes. Doctor's Clinic. Doc Fizz with Friends on Facebook. Like us. Follow us.
Bye.